This podcast is about advice.
Listen, unsolicited advice, child, and specifically how it differs between male advice and female advice. A friend comment on was it our last video, babe?
I believe so.
Our last video, and it was an interesting conversation because we were both thinking in the same vein. The unsolicited advice is real and is always for the wife/mother. Why? And I was thinking the same exact thing. Like,
through sickness and health, riches and broke. Yeah, healthy marriage is dope. Your healthy marriage is dope. Let's work in our dreams, let's heal through our growth. Yeah, healthy marriage is dope.
Let's get it. What's good, fam? Welcome to the Healthy Marriage is Dope podcast, where we discuss all things about our marriage, and hopefully you can apply some of the things that we discuss to your relationship. We believe it'll help. I am one of your hosts, Derek.
And I am the other host, Keisha. How
That's
y'all
my
doing?
wife, y'all.
Hey.
That's my wife. I chose up.
Hey, chose up. Oh, we chose equal.
Definitely shows up. But yeah, so this is a weekly podcast. If this is your first time joining, we appreciate you. We hope that you will consider becoming part of this family at some point during this podcast by either following the platform that you're on for audio or clicking the subscribe button on YouTube.
Yep.
Enough about that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's the need for a lot of chit chat.
No, but I do want to take a pause. Y'all see I'm dressed like Janet Jackson today. I got control. I'm chilling. It's because it's Veterans Day here, and I myself am a veteran. My father is a veteran. Derek's father is also a veteran.
Absolutely.
I have uncles and family members. We've all served, so I want to say personally thank you if you have served, for your service and your sacrifice. It does take a lot to stand up, raise your right hand, and give your life over to the government, y'all. So I appreciate you. Thank you. Happy Veterans Day.
I saw a post on Instagram from a veteran that said something to the effect that serving in the military is the equivalent of writing a blank check to the U.S. government whose value is up to and including your life.
Yes. Agreed.
Gotcha.
And trust me, there were times when I complained, times where I had a really good time. And I am grateful for the relationships and friendships that came out of my service in the military, and I would not trade it for the world. I was in my feelings today. The kids had a Veterans Day parade ceremony at their school, and it made me reflect. Y'all know I'm struggling with a little bit of I could be retired right now, but I'm proud of myself, even through the good, even through the bad. I feel like everyone has those days in, non-military jobs where I'm done with this, I'm getting out, I'm leaving or whatever. So I did make that choice, but I did enjoy my time while I was there.
Yep. All right. So today, is there anything to catch up on? So if this is your first time, again, if it's your first time coming in contact with this podcast, we normally started off with a little chit chat. I guess that was a little bit of the chit chat of what happened this week. Typically, it's something very eventful. And
hallelujah. Won't he do it, y'all?
This week, there has not been anything. Oh, well, I got my first shot.
Yes, he did get his first shot.
I got my first shot in the series for Moderna.
Yeah.
Because the mandate at work accelerated my decision. We were still evaluating it. We're not interested in a whole lot of commentary about it. We're doing what's best for our household, and you do what's best for yours.
Yeah.
We're not judging either way. But there was a mandate. I work for a federal contractor, and our beloved president issued a mandate that contractors and their employees had to be fully vaccinated by a certain date. Mm-hmm. That date was December 8th. It has now been extended to January 18th.
Yeah.
But yeah.
My concern was that because you've had COVID and you had the antibodies, I would have preferred medicologists. You check your antibodies first to make sure you weren't like overloading, but they said it was fine, so it was fine, y'all. I was concerned for my spouse.
It's all in me at this point. But I think, that was the highlight for anybody that hasn't had it. I don't know if it's different if you get the shot, if you get the vaccination after you already had COVID. And within 12 hours of me getting the vaccination, the first one, I felt like I had it again. Mm-hmm. Now, it wasn't all of the symptoms, and I think I may have just been a little bit like overly sensitive because I knew what it was like, but it made me paranoid that I was going to wake up the next morning and it was going to be back to where it was. What is it, 2 months ago? Yeah. 3 months ago now. So yeah, we still have some things to figure out as it relates to total house vaccination, or if and when that will happen. Yeah. But that's not what this podcast is about. This podcast is about advice.
Listen, unsolicited advice, child, and specifically how it differs between male advice and female advice. And that is the offering of the advice to the genders. We had a, let me find it, a friend comment on was it our last video, babe?
I believe so.
Our last video, and it was an interesting conversation because we were both thinking in the same vein. And so, hey y'all. So her first comment was, sorry y'all, the unsolicited advice is real and is always for the wife/mother. Why? And I was thinking the same exact thing. Like, I remember researching for another topic in the future, and all of the articles were about how to please your man, how to keep your man. It was all geared toward the woman in the relationship holding that together, holding it down. And that was just...
Now, do you recall the authors? Were the authors women or men? Do you recall?
I think it was a mixture.
Okay.
Which was... Child, anyway. So I did say that back to her, and then her response was, I would be interested in knowing how men would respond to the same unsolicited advice. As women, we are told, let men be men, allow them space. And we are rarely told to speak up for ourselves and show our true emotions. It's amazing that marriages evolved to healthy after so much toxicity from well-wishers. And I agree. Yeah, I agree, sis.
That is a mouthful. How do you want to break that down? Because I'm trying to think of unsolicited advice that right. was offered to me. I think at the time I was in the window where I was just so, I don't know if it's still rebellious at that age, but in another podcast, in my other podcast, I chronicle the distance between my father and I. Mm-hmm. So that kind of covered the period where we got married. I talked to him when we got married, but it was on the tail end of us being so distant that I think like I was embarrassed to ask for advice, and he was somewhat not so open to offer advice because I wasn't coming to him for a period of time. So
even not just from your dad though, babe, like from strangers, from women, from men, from all the above.
No, my point was, if I wasn't talking to my father, I definitely wasn't
talking to your friends,
paying any attention to friends. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's walk through it.
Okay. I know that I can only speak from my experience, and obviously other women are having the same experience, but it's like some give advice under the guise of being helpful, but it's kind of like a dig underneath whatever that advice is that they're trying to give. And so then it makes you question yourself as a person, like who you are in your relationship if you are not doing whatever the advice is that they have given you. I know that most people are told, take the fat, chew the meat, spit the fat out. Is that how it goes? How does that saying go, y'all?
I was raised vegetarian. So
I think that is a saying, like, take what you need from it. Take it with a grain of salt, basically.
Mm-hmm. The cartilage. Take the cartilage.
Listen,
and
Linda.
Spit the bone.
But no, seriously, like when it's coming from strangers on the street, like, are all those kids yours? Haven't you figured out how this works yet? So in my mind, I want to come back with the snapback, but we as women are taught to smile, nod, take it with stride, and move on.
Are these comments that you fielded, or are these things that you're aware of that are said?
No, I fielded these personally.
Who was saying that?
Random people. I promise you. I must have that kind of face where people feel like they can tell me what to do with my body and my life.
Yeah, because they ain't putting none of them.
But I feel like people don't approach men with that same vigor either. Like, they're never going to feel comfortable telling you this is what you need to do. in order to take care of your household, but they're quick to let women know where their shortcomings are and what they could be doing better.
I get it. I get it. It's a very interesting topic. I think I was really so standoffish that I didn't really invite, my presence didn't invite that kind of unsolicited conversation, let alone advice. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe, I'm sure at some points there were, but not as it relates to choosing a partner, or the number of kids to have or anything like that. If they said it, I honestly don't.
The amount of times I have been asked, don't you know how this works yet? It's ridiculous. I can show you if you want me to, but I'm not going to say that to your face. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really feel like I should. But I just feel like it just happens all too often for the female in the relationship.
So how does it make you feel? Do you feel the same way the first time as the 17th time, or is it a gradual thing where you hear so much?
The first time, I feel like it's always like, okay, all right, that was a little, all right. And then as it progresses, it's like,
I don't know if that's actually going to come through.
I'm sorry.
Video. What she was saying was, oh, all right, yeah.
You take it in stride, like, okay, that was awkward, that was weird. But even in some friendships, I think people are offering advice to be helpful, but there are also people who offer advice under the guise, like I said earlier, of being helpful, and it's really insults and
one thing
appeasing themselves.
One thing I adopted very early is be careful of advice from people who've never been where you're trying to go.
Right.
All right. So I think you can learn from everybody. So I'm not saying because somebody isn't where you want to go, you don't have a conversation with them. Mm-hmm. But you kind of take it with a grain of salt if they can't actually, they've never been where you're trying to go and they can't help get you there. But I'm really curious now, like at what point did you start getting this advice? Was it only after the kids? Was
prior to marriage even?
Say more.
Only because we're a blended family. For those of you who don't know, we started off with a child, and that came with its own set of, your heart about to be life. I mean, your life. Wait.
So, one other thing. If this is your first time coming in contact with our content, it's normally one of us. For a few episodes, it has been me struggling with words. Okay. Wording is hard. Shout out to here. But for the last two, you kind of been running point with the can't get your sentences together. So this is the levity that we bring. So a couple episodes back, you know what levity. You get the inside joke with levity, but you gotta listen to all of our stuff. Listen to this, then go back and binge listen or binge watch, however you consume this content. But you want to try it again?
Yes.
Go.
Okay, so your life is about to be hard, right? Things like that. Like, you're gonna need to.
Hold on, it just didn't have the same impact.
I know.
But go ahead.
You want me to give it the same figure?
No, it's gone. Because you already had a child and you were
that's families. What you need to do. Literature is given and things like that. Like, it just felt like, girl, you ain't good enough. Kind of.
What kind of literature do you give one about a blended family? Was it specifically about that or what? I mean, you gonna bring it up? Bring it up. What we doing?
I plead the fifth.
What we doing?
I plead the fifth because I'm over that time period in my life.
Okay. I think I know what it is. Okay. People were very suggestive. I guess how we should live and according to the religion I was raised in. That's what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, I love all of these people. I don't want anybody to feel some kind of way because I was in my
No, people need to be
feelings
aware. I
there.
mean, that's the thing. The whole point of the pod, like what I realized about porn, what
The
I
finger
realized
has
about
made.
our podcast is that they are mirrors,
Yeah.
right? They are mirrors to behaviors, characteristics, the way you have lived up to a certain point, the way you have approached your marriage and relationships. And we're talking about the things where we weren't successful and some places where we were successful.
Right.
So we don't not talk about something because it was hard or challenging. I mean, this is not taking shots at anybody,
Right.
but what the other parts of that is that may have been what they received.
Right.
And they thought that to be right. So
Right.
at what point does the cycle break?
Yeah, I agree. I just am also not in that. I don't want to feel that way. Like I'm over that time period, you know? So.
Well, she's better than me because I can go back to a feeling. I'm not going to do that though. But I definitely didn't know because I'm very protective of my family, even against my family. Mm-hmm. But that's interesting too. It's not shocking, but definitely interesting.
And I was 21, 22 when I had honors. So 22, 23, you're still young, still impressionable. Like you're taking in all of the things that are coming at you. So it was trying to adjust to being a mom, trying to adjust to trying to fit into this new life. And it was just a lot. And then strangers at the hospital.
Strangers at the hospital?
I mean, random people. Like, you pregnant again?
Yes.
What? Yes.
It was the sex.
Don't you know how that happened by now?
Yes.
I was there.
You want to know where it happened?
I think I know
that too.
I don't know. But I just don't feel, do you feel that, I mean, I guess not just in your situation, but with men in general, do you feel like that type of advice or those type of comments are tossed grandly on the same scale on the same scale as it is with women? Like people feel as comfortable.
I don't that hasn't been my experience. But I can say that I'm aware of like overbearing fathers.
Okay.
Where fathers seek to have so much control over their son specifically that they kind of guilt them into making the decisions that they would have them make. So in that sense, yeah, but the whole complete stranger thing, I don't know about that.
I had funny story when I was working in Arlington. I was helping a older woman, get her ticket for she was having trouble with the ticket machine in the garage, and I was pregnant with Eden or Eli at the time. I forgot. Yeah. I was pregnant with both of them at the hospital. But I was pregnant. She was like, "Oh, is this your first?" And I was like, "No, this is my either fourth or fifth." And she was like, "Oh no, honey, you have to stop now."
Y'all do that?
I was like,
women, y'all do that?
Well, we can afford these kids, so
y'all do that. I would say where they do that at, but
I was shocked, just like what you did. I finished helping because I was still in my uniform. I had my badge on. It wasn't like I could, go off on this older woman. So I assisted her and went on about my day and talked to myself about it in the car.
Some people deserve to get cussed out.
But like I said, we're instructed. We can't, like me as a Black woman, I can't be the angry Black woman in public. I have to smile, grin, and
that's a whole nother topic. Because I realized how small I've played in the corporate setting to make people feel comfortable. And I think that's part of my annoyance. A lot of it is with me because I've been playing small to make people feel comfortable. Because I've had people make the comment, "You're already big, you're already a big guy." And,
right.
And what?
Because you're tall. Yeah, so you can't have an opinion because you're tall?
Yeah. Anyhow, that was on the side, but
yeah, I think I just wanted to share that.
I know you have an article that you want to reference, but go ahead with the article.
No, go ahead.
Because it was more along the lines of if this is cyclical because it was what the women in your case have received.
And some
do
men.
you see yourself going down that path with your daughters or any of our kids for that matter, where it's so there's guidance and then there's the point at which you got to let them make decisions? Do you think that you will be guilty of that?
I am trying to guide at this point. Like with Honor, I have realized that the best I can do right now is give my, like, urge her in the right direction. I can't make that decision for her. Um, and knowing what type of child she is or has been up until this point, us trying to force her to do something is not going to fare well for either side.
Mm-hmm.
So for her, I know how I have to deal. Like for each of the 5 children, like with anyone, they're all 5 different beings. You have to deal with them in different ways. So I do see myself as offering stories and anecdotes from my experience
Mm-hmm.
and hoping they'll pull what they need from that.
Yeah. Again, keeping everybody up to date. Our children today are 18, 15, 14, 8, and 6.
Yeah.
Our
Soon to
youngest
be
6-year-old
7.
will be 7
Couple weeks.
in a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to go to the article?
Yeah, the part that I wanted to read, we've already kind of addressed it. And in the article, it says that it's not that men don't face unsolicited advice at all. It's simply not on the same scale as it is for women. It's not a day in and day out thing for men. It's not so largely ingrained in our society for strangers to tell men to do and how to behave like it is for, women. Like, it's just not.
So how do you set the boundaries for that? Or did you ever feel like you had a responsibility in setting boundaries, or were you just, it sounded like in some cases your reaction was just to be kind and respectful.
Yes.
But at what point does it start to impact you? Because that could impact the household, it can impact the marriage,
Right.
the family, and all of that gets flagged when stuff starts to come into the home.
Right.
Like, we got to address it. So what do you think? How do you set those boundaries? Or have you found that you've set boundaries since then? Or is it just you don't care anymore?
I feel
so
like
far
the
removed from it?
boundaries, I'm sorry. I feel like the boundaries are based on the category of person it is giving the advice now. So strangers really don't care. Carry on with your business. I received some of those same comments with some of my coworkers, and I was not so kind with my words. I don't think my friends at this point, the group of friends that I have, they don't do that. And at this point in our marriage, I don't receive the same type of, thing.
So what would you have done if you could go back and undo the way you reacted to some of it?
Mm-hmm.
How do you think you would have addressed it?
Probably similarly outwardly, out of respect, and I would have dealt with it head on, like mentally and emotionally. Like I would not have taken it all in, probably.
Yeah.
But I wasn't emotionally mature at that time, in my 20s. Anyway.
But was it intimidating?
Mm-hmm.
Or was it more intimidating, shocking, or just confusing?
It was kind of confusing. I was just trying to fit in. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was confusing for me. A confusing time.
And I'm digging because, I don't know what I don't know who this is going to reach, but somebody coming across is probably going through that or approaching the phase where they're going through it. But it's important to set boundaries, people. I know it's easier said than done, but it doesn't get any easier the more you allow somebody to encroach beyond a place that should have been bounded. So use your words.
Also, I wanted to touch on not just unsolicited advice, but advice from that you may seek out yourself, or from people who you love and value. Like, who do you feel you should allow in your marriage? Like, what does that space look like? Do you feel like it should be a disinterested third party, only a therapist, like your best friend, your parents? Like, how do you feel? What do you feel about that?
I think at this stage, this is not a stage where it's like, oh, I tell my boys everything.
Yeah.
And I don't expect that they tell me everything. There are things that are dealt with in the home. Now, if those things are endangering life and safety, that's something different. But I'm talking about the protection of family information or family dynamics that's not for everybody. So now I can say that conversations with the guys I call my brothers are meaningful and mature.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's spewing bad advice. Just leave, bump that, F that. That's not the advice at this stage. But I can't say that it was ever that. We were definitely less mature earlier in life, but I can't recall terrible advice or advice that I acted on from my circle that would have impacted our marriage.
Okay.
So even when we were going through rough patches, I have friends that are divorced and they encouraged me to do everything I could to fix it
Mm-hmm.
because the hurt of divorce is something they didn't wish on me.
Oh, okay.
So
Interesting. Love that. Um, for me, I realized that I could not take everything that my single friends was saying because, they were my single friends, of course, who we were as singles. Like, girl, that's different than being in a relationship and having a family. So I learned that lesson early on. Like, I love you guys. Thank you for supporting me because I did feel the support from their advice. But taking some of that advice from single friends as a married person just would not have been wise.
have you had advice from a friend that caused you to end the friendship where you realize that they don't, the way they're living their life doesn't fit with the way you're living your life and better y'all go your separate ways?
No, have you?
I'm trying to think. I mean, they're friends that, we grew apart.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't recall any that were where they said something or gave advice that was so egregious where it was like, I can't be around you. Now, I've definitely had to separate myself from people at time when I'm focused on something.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I was in school, I was trying to, if I'm making a sprint to do something at work, and just do something successful, be successful at something.
Mm-hmm.
If their actions and their lifestyle were contrary to that, I'd have to step away.
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely done that before. But I think several of us have done that and we get it.
Yeah.
But where it's just like terrible advice, like get out of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall it being like a pivotal or pointing at one specific action or set of circumstances though I did that. It was just certain people we won't hang around no more.
Oh. I do know or acknowledge that there are friends that I am just friends with and friends that I go to for advice with. I've had friends who are friends, but in their behavior over our friendship, you can see like competitiveness or things like that. And I've noticed that those are not like that's not how you want to go to, when you're going through.
Yeah. Choose your friends wisely.
Yeah.
Let them go when it's time. I don't think there's anything wrong with stepping away from a friendship if it's for the best.
Mm-hmm.
For both of you or either for you. You got to be selfish at some point with who you give your energy to and what you allow into your psyche. Mm-hmm. So I'm all for cutting. Would you say chewing the bone and spitting the cud?
No, chewing the meat and spitting the fat.
Cutting the chew and spitting the bone.
Okay, so basically what you would say is you did not receive a lot of unsolicited advice on how to be marriage material.
I'm really like at that phase of my life, I wasn't caring a lot about what people were saying. I'm not saying that was right. Mm-hmm. So if people were saying that, I honestly was probably ignoring it. Okay. Not that people didn't say it.
Right.
But I mean, of course, that's very common in church. Like everybody has an opinion. Your elders have an opinion. I was taught to respect the elders.
Right.
So you kind of listen to it, but I definitely didn't. I knew that some of the things that I was being told wasn't applicable for me. So in that sense, yeah, but it was never where at a point where I felt it was serious enough to make me feel some kind of way because they said it to me. Like, oh, you should go get a job here. You know, you got to do this with your family. Oh, okay, great. Me.
That's awesome. I feel like that's I hate to say it, but it's kind of like a male thing to do. You know what I mean? Like y'all are less emotional, even though y'all have emotions and things like that. Like we attach to situations a little bit differently than men would attach to a situation.
So do you think, has it happened in our marriage where you thought I gave you some advice that was, okay, might be an extended episode.
No, we've had this conversation before. Like,
I'm not sure.
No, we have. Specifically when I was going back to school. You remember this conversation and the degree that I was going after. You were like, oh, that sucks. That's not a good degree to go. But it was something you don't recall. It was a BA.
Give
and you were like,
side.
You need a BS for it to mean anything kind of thing. And so I completely changed from what I was going to do and went to school for health service administration. And that was definitely not what I wanted to do.
So BA versus BS, I honestly don't remember that. What I do recall is the choice of school. When you were using your, is it GI Bill? Was yours GI Bill or something else?
Yeah, it was the
post 9/11
SGLI.
That thing.
Wait, no, is that life insurance?
On Veterans Day, you let the whole like all your airmen down. But no, I did disagree with how you were going to school because the amount of money that you had, was going to run out. So you started.
This was before I even started that we had this conversation. When I wanted to do like events in public, I can't think of the name right now. Like,
I honestly don't remember BA versus BS, but I do remember. I thought it made more sense
public
for you to
relations.
go to.
I'm sorry, that's what I initially wanted to do because I felt like I talked to people, I can do shows, I can, like I was really excited. You were like, a BA? Who gets a BA?
Sounds like somebody would have said.
Yeah.
Less informed, less mature. Because that was kind of the opinion when I was going to school. Because it was less science. I think that's the difference, right? Less science and math. BA versus BS. Anyhow, what I was saying was I distinctly remember us not agreeing on your choice of school. Because I thought it made more sense to go to community college and then go to 4-year. You went to 4-year, ODU right out the gate.
Yeah.
And then when we moved to Northern Virginia,
I had to go to Strayer.
You went to Strayer, which would have been great, but it was accelerated and it cost more faster.
Yeah. So it ran out faster.
So you ran out.
Yeah.
Yeah. That part I remember. But I wouldn't put it past me to say something stupid about.
Mm-hmm. I was like, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
But I felt like it fit who I was more. And
you're probably right.
Yeah.
You're probably right. And I was giving you the perspective that I knew. And that was, in hindsight, I started off as an engineer because my dad said I should be an engineer.
Oh.
I would be miserable as an engineer right now. So I changed majors. But he was giving me the best advice based on my performance in school. I was good at chemistry and math. He was like, you should be an environmental engineer. It was a very new
division.
Not division. What's it called? New not called division.
I don't know.
Discipline or
okay. We can go with that. Discipline sounds good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The first class was just graduating, I think, when I was graduating high school. But that was, again, well-intended advice that just didn't make sense for me.
Yeah. Love it.
What else? Anything else in the article?
We'll link this article because I feel like she's made really good points.
Notes?
Huh?
So you doing the show notes?
Pause. I will link this article for you guys to read. But it basically said a lot of things that we were already talking about. Like some people love to hide their insults in their advice. Sometimes it's more about the person giving the advice than the actual advice that they're giving.
But we didn't talk about that. That's a very
Oh,
interesting point.
Okay.
Where the advice comes as a form of
Medicine. Like, this is tough love.
medicine.
You need to hear this.
Okay, I get that. I was thinking more about an insecurity
and
or
that.
failure and inadequacy.
Love that word.
Inadequacy that they see in themselves that they want to
point out
to you, or
and it gives them a little bit of relief. Like, I got that off my shoulders.
That way.
Yeah.
That way.
I agree. Have you experienced that? Do you feel like you've come in contact with some of that?
Yeah, I mean, almost even. I don't like talking about career stuff with a lot of people because everybody views success differently.
Yeah.
And what may be acceptable for me may not be acceptable for somebody else, and vice versa. So I've definitely smiled and nodded when somebody was telling me what a good salary was or what a good hourly rate was. Or if I just do this for 15 years,
keep your head down,
then I can achieve that. So in that sense, yes. But I guess it wasn't offensive to me.
As it relates to our relationship, not really.
As it relates to our relationship, if it happened, it was so long ago and it wasn't memorable. Again, because I was just
dismissive.
We both
like
got
that.
good words.
Come on, good words. Thesaurus, dictionary.
Yeah. That. So what are the takeaways? How do you protect? How would you suggest as a woman, someone that was in the place where you were, address that today?
Today, I have my own comebacks about it that are snarky, and then I also have my way of de-escalating the situation and just dealing. Like, a lot of times, unfortunately, women have to just deal with it. And I was interested in this topic because I want to work on how to field this. Not that I have the answers for it,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So another work in progress. And again, this podcast is not about us being experts at anything other than what we've been through in our marriage and some things we figured it out. But we take you on a journey with us as we identify things that are challenging, that we're still working through. So I'll definitely be mindful of it. I don't think that I've been that way lately, but I guess it's more about how you perceive it than that would make you feel a certain way than how I thought I said something. So.
Do you feel like if you give advice, the person has to take it? Because some people feel like that. Don't ask me if you're not going to do what I said. Well, I might just want your opinion.
I won't keep giving that advice. If I know there's something actionable that the person can do and they ask me for, a lot of times my advice is there's an inquiry that led to my advice. I don't just go around, hey, you know what? You should probably be more like me. That's not it at all.
Right.
I also am a fan of not wasting words.
Okay.
So what I've seen in the corporate space as I progressed and had more leadership responsibilities, I found in some circumstances I wanted more for people than they wanted for themselves. So I would be trying to push them to a place where they didn't want to go. And it was out of the best intentions, but some are like, hey, I'm cool. I'm cool at this level. I don't want to be you. I don't want to grow.
Okay.
And I get it. Somebody got to drop the fries and flip the burgers.
Oh, we got all these food analogies today. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I know that I'll ask my 5 top people the same question just to gauge, what everyone's saying. Not necessarily that I want to take everybody's advice. I may settle on something that's different than what all 5 people said, but I still want to hear from, the important people in my life.
Yeah. I don't know. Sound off in the comments. What do you guys think? How does it play out today in your life? How has it played out previously? Does it still impact you if you had some of that advice? I'd be interested to hear the comments from that person after they watch this episode.
Okay.
So you don't know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You read
Yes.
a comment.
Oh, yeah. Oh, from,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure she wouldn't mind us sharing. I would love to have her as well. Our friend Makiba. Hey, Makiba girl. No. Hey, y'all.
I wasn't
You weren't
going
to share. We didn't get to the point to answer the question about who you should allow. Like we went to it and then came right back.
I don't know. I think that's
what
situational.
Is too much. Oh, okay.
I think that's situational. I mean, I just think there has to be clear boundaries that you and your spouse, your significant other, have to be on the same page.
Like this is a safe person.
Yeah.
Okay.
And decide what that is. Decide what those boundaries look like first.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not operating on the same page, it'll just be, I can see where that will cause a challenge.
Right.
Where if you're having conversations that you believe are appropriate, but your spouse thinks that you're sharing too much, that kind of thing could cause some mistrust or some anger.
That betrayal. Check out our IG page. We have some relationship killers posted. That was also in another podcast. So y'all can go check that out. I know that there are people that I can tell certain things to, but they hold grudges. So you know what I mean? Like I know who I can talk to, and I feel like the 2 or 3 people that I would actually talk to. And are you okay with those people?
I don't know what y'all be talking about.
We just be talking about
actually I do, because
everything.
Keisha talks so loud on the phone. She talks so loud on the phone, and then she thinks that she's told me the thing.
Oh, I feel like I really don't
be listening.
I love
to you.
You. I love you.
Appreciate that. Anything else we want to share? We're trying to get these episodes.
Shorter.
We're trying to get these episodes
Sorry,
to a manageable length. Now, it's not a certain time frame that we're trying to hit, but we're taking podcasting seriously. We think we really have important information, valuable information to share. We want it to be fun and interesting. Sometimes it's going to be serious and not so exciting. But again, it's that mirror effect of the conversations. A lot of our conversations are tough. There was almost a series. The first few episodes were tough conversations, and then a specific topic. But you have to have those in marriage and in relationships to be healthy. And again, we hope that us sharing openly what we've learned, what we're still trying to figure out, and what little we have mastered is helpful to a few people. Yeah. So,
agreed.
Sound off in the comments.
Actually sound off, y'all. Actually sound off.
Yeah, rate us. We're taking the podcast seriously. We're trying to get the look and feel right. If you're on YouTube, let us know how it is. We've changed up the background a little bit because we're just trying to get it right. And hopefully the sound quality is improving and the flow of the conversation is improving, getting more succinct for your audio platform. That's the goal. So we want to be here next year and the year after that. But we like to also grow the platform, not just keep talking to the same
5 people. Also, can y'all let us know, are there, just like today, we chose a topic based on one of the comments. Are there things that you guys would like to address or, want to hear our take on or, things like that? We'd love to know that as well. Y'all's 3 cameras in here. I don't know where to look.
They would have never known. And we're still working on our signal because I gave the signal off camera.
Listen,
to let y'all know, but hey,
it's real life.
Take the journey with us.
In these streets.
Anything else? We love you guys. God bless you.
I'm talking true happiness, like sitting in grass fields watching sunsets. You on my arms, yeah, you by my side. Do you remember your vows? The warmth and the truth in your smile. That's what I live for. Love gave us a voice. We made it through storms.
The Healthy Marriage is Dope podcast is produced by D. John's Live Studios. All ranks reserved.
To my writer's block. My commitment to you means more than my right to stop. So when bad thoughts tap my mind, I'ma just fight them off. Let God get his praise, this art that we make. Flowmates with silhouettes in the shade. He painted our features with colors, more than a photograph in a frame. Let's fly to the sun, yeah, let's go through the flames. Hey yo, you sickness and health, riches and broke. Yeah, healthy marriage is dope. Let's work in our dreams, let's heal through our growth. Yeah, healthy marriage is dope. Yeah, all that I learned, all that I know, turn the house